Yeah. So.
Well, looks like we've got our normal crew here. Can everybody hear me for sure? I just wanted to double check again because sometimes my microphone goes wonky. Because today's the day we talked about the first part of the meeting is going to be a book club reboot, how to have book clubs with the current situation that we're having. And I have that, you can see I've been reading this book, but it's a book that I bought from the ALA programs office, and it's here in the systems professional collection. So all of you are welcome to borrow it at any time. You can just call or email the system office and we'll mail it out to you. There's somebody else waiting here. So you are welcome to get that and use it. But I'd like to go ahead and do that part first, and then at the end I'd really love to hear how things are going. And there's a couple of things that have come out across the email just this morning that I was going to touch on. So let's get started with Book Club Reboot, and I'm going to try and share my screen. Oh, and I think I set it up properly so I actually can share what I want you to see. And we'll start the slideshow. There we go. So yeah, the Book Club Reboot 71 Creative Twists is this book, like I say, that I purchased from ALA, the public program office. The authors are Sarah Ostman and Stephanie Saba. And I just wanted to do, like I say, there are actually truly 71 different ideas in here. And some of them work better than others for the current situation where we have to try and do what we can do without being very close together. So that's why I selected a few of these, but there are so many more that you could read through and discover. There's actually 12 chapters, and the 12 chapters have very descriptive names. Chapter 1 is Change of Scenery. Chapter 2 is Find a Partner. Unite people with common interests. Make it easy for them. Meet a need. Target your audience. Get quirky, which that's one of my favorites. Encourage activism. Meet them where they are. Short on time, which we know everybody thinks they're short on time, and put it online. And then chapter 12 is get them meeting at an early age. So they've got so many different categories. There's bound to be something in there that will work. And what you need to do is find a club that works in your community. And every community is different. The same book club is not going to work in every town. And you have to be creative. We have understood that all along, but recent events have made it very evident that creativity is important, flexibility is important, all of those things that make us who we are as librarians. It has been very valuable. And clubs really should be refreshed regularly so that they stay viable. I mean, I know there's book clubs out there that have used the same format to select their books year after year after year, and they meet in the same place and the same people talk about, and for some that works. But I think sometimes the reason book clubs die out is because people really like to have things refreshed or changed up once in a while. And what you have to know is don't be afraid to fail, because you have to try something new. Especially now, you have to try something. So don't be afraid to fail. Try it. So of course, the first thing I want to talk about is a digital book club. Of course, and I know so many of you have said, don't give me something that is online. My people, everybody in town is sick to death of virtual programming, virtual meetings, virtual school, virtual everything. They're sick of it. Well, I know, but this is a possibility for a book club that might work for you. The digital book club that I'm talking about is called Goodreads.com Readers. And what it means is each person that wants to be in this book club needs to establish a Goodreads.com account. It's free. It's okay. You just put your groups together. You can have groups in Goodreads that are groups by invitation only. So your members of your book club could be invited to join this particular book club. Then the club reads one staff pick per month, and then the members post their feedback. And it's at their convenience before a deadline. So not everybody's on at the same time. It's not a book club meeting where everybody is there typing back and forth. This is an asynchronous one where members post their feedback at their own convenience. And I think, personally, I think this one would work best between people who maybe have been in a traditional book club and they know each other and they're comfortable with each other and they understand when someone posts something, kind of what they mean because they've been in the same room with them, they visited with them. Because sometimes it's difficult in a forum type format. You have to be really careful because people get easily offended. It's important to lay down those guidelines and say, hey, we're just all talking about these books. We're not, if we disagree, that's okay, but we don't need to be disagreeable. Laura Johnson from the commission, that was one of her lines with her forum instructions is, it's okay to disagree, but don't be disagreeable. So you post 2 threads in the discussion part of the forum in Goodreads. One is first impressions and the other is final thoughts. When people first get started reading the book, and like I say, there's deadlines for each forum. So after the first 10 days to 2 weeks, people can post their first impressions, what they think they're going to get out of the book, how they might, what they think is going to happen, or whatever they want to post about their first impression. Then at the very end, then they can post their final thoughts. And what people need to know, of course, it seems obvious, but I think you need to state it, that final thoughts are going to include spoilers. So don't go into final thoughts until you're done reading the book. It seems obvious, but that's something important to put down in writing. And I do think people are more likely to post when others have already commented. Nobody wants to be the first. So that's why it's good to have a staff person, 1 or 2 staff people involved in this type of book club, because they can get the ball rolling. They can put a post or 2, put in a thought, maybe ask a question, something to get people encouraged to post online. Now, this particular club in the book that I was reading here, the book club Reboot, they have challenges for their Goodreads.com readers. Those challenges, there were 2 different ones they listed. One is called the Alphabet Warrior, and this one is craziness, but I think there's people that would enjoy this, and I bet you all know people that would enjoy this. The participants in this challenge have a year to read a book whose title starts with every letter of the alphabet. Now, that means we're going to have to find books with the letter X besides Sue Grafton's book. I don't even know what her X book is, but that's the only one I can think of that would be X. So I suppose we're going to have to find something else that starts with X. If you have people that start this Alphabet Warrior Challenge, I bet we could come up with something. But anyway, a whole year to read a book, so they have to read 26 books with starting with every letter of the alphabet. The other one is the genre mixer, and participants have a year to read a book in each of 30 different genres. Now, they did not give that list of genres, but I'll bet we could find different ones. Once again, though, you'd have to purchase books in all those genres, which are, some are going to be more popular than others, but it's a way of getting people to branch out, to break out and say, hey, I always read a mystery, or I really am fond of a romance. I need a little romance in my life, so I'm fond of that. But this genre mixer, I think, is a good way for people who like to try different things. So that's one of the digital book clubs that was described here in the book club Reboot. Well, let's see here. I can get my, there it is. No, that's the wrong direction. There we go. Here's another digital book club. And it's kind of a digital book club. Let me put it that way. It's a Facebook cookbook club, and it's named The Feast. And I think if you just start with the beginning of this, it's a Facebook group where members swap recipes and display photographs and have a good time talking about the old, unappetizing, old-fashioned recipes. The group, they read a book with a recipe in it, and we all know those books, or they actually could come to the library and check out a cookbook. It's up to the group, however they want to do it. And so if they wanted to read a story with a recipe involved in the story, that's one way you could run it. Or if you actually just have people come and check out cookbooks, and then they have, say, 6 weeks to post some pictures online of something they've cooked. So before COVID, you know, that's where it could end now, is they decide if they're either reading a story and they're going to bake the recipe at the end and post a picture, or they're going to, everybody check out an ethnic cookbook. There could be Italian cookbooks and Mexican cookbooks and Greek cookbooks. Everybody take home a different ethnic group and post pictures and talk about how easy it was or how hard it was, or, oh my gosh, can you imagine wrapping grape leaves around stuff? You know, whatever it is they want to talk about. Before COVID, this group would gather 4 times a year at the library to sample their creations. Everyone would bring a dish to share and their own plate and silverware, and each dinner had a theme. And so, you know, you could even say everybody needs to cook a recipe by Bobby Flay, you know, whatever, whoever you have the most cookbooks by, whatever particular best-selling cook, or, you know, the author. And if you're going to, as per usual, if you're going to get together and you have food involved, be aware of the food allergies that sometimes plague people. But I put this one in here because I think it could be done online, where everybody just, you know, you make your Facebook group, you list what it is you're going to read, then put up a deadline and say we need 3 pictures that of things you've cooked out of this book. You know, that gives people time to have some trial and error.
I think especially for fall and winter, this is a great one, Denise.
You could do a soup, everybody make a soup, everybody, or bake bread or whatever you wanted to do. I think this one could be digital. I know you can't smell the good smells when you're online, but I think it could be done that way. And again, a digital one. This one's a really low interaction. It's newsletter based, and in the book it was called Why, with A in parentheses, not. So why not? YA not. And it's designed for adults that love YA literature. And there are a ton of adults that read YA literature. They just enjoy the format, the characters, the themes. They really enjoy those. And that's why they read YA literature. So if you get a group of adults that want to try that, it could be moms with teenagers that they want to be ahead of their teens reading the literature that they're going to be looking at. So this could be a book club for them. So each month, participants receive a newsletter via email that includes the recommendations with some related articles or author information, just put it all in there. And each newsletter is themed, and in the book they mention these themes, like Out on the Highway, titles about cross-country drives or memorable getaways, or there's always a best books list. You could make it in January, it could be the best YA books of the previous year. Out Loud and Proud, if you do that in June, it commemorates Pride Month. And so then you can bring in LGBTQ community as authors or as protagonists in the books. And the reason it's so low interaction is because there is actually no required reading and there's no discussion to facilitate. It's all based on the newsletter. You put it out, you give them the opportunity. I don't know if I'd actually call it a book club essentially, because they don't necessarily discuss. They'd have to figure it out. I mean, if they wanted to discuss, you'd have to find a way of facilitating that through maybe an email list or something. But this is just a way of putting information out there for adults that really like YA literature. Now this one more, it's a digital one. It's a college campus one that I thought was really interesting. They just called it Online Book Club. And what it does is it invites students, faculty, and staff to read a new title every semester. They pick a title. And the reason they pick a title, because the author is willing. In the book, it talked about the author would come to campus. I don't know that we're going to have that happen in the next few semesters, but you could have an author. There are so many of them out there that are willing to come to campus via Skype. So you get the author lined up first, then you put the book out and invite everyone, students, faculty, and staff, to read this. It's like a one book, one campus type format, knowing ahead of time that the author is going to come. And the participants would respond to discussion questions on Goodreads by a particular deadline before the author's there. Then, you'd line up your author to do a 30-minute presentation and then a 45-minute Q&A. I mean, it is really important to have faculty support so many times, and especially if it gets to the point where you can do this one where the author actually comes to campus. If faculty is involved, it's terrific because they can offer extra credit to students for participating. Of course, on the online discussion, they can see who's participating, so that way they can give them the extra credit they've earned. or they can give them extra credit if they attend the event, if there is a time when you're offering this as a live event. So that is a great one, I think. And I know there are some communities in our area, Cozad comes to mind, and they do a one book, one Cozad, where everybody in town is invited to read the same title, and the author comes, and they have a community building event. And that's what this is for the college campus, is a community building event. Now this is one for the younger crowd. It's called the Spub Club. I kind of liked that. Super popular, unbelievable book club, the Spub Club. And it's actually a read aloud book club, and that participants are encouraged to practice active listening, meaning that as they listen to the chapter book being read aloud, they use Play-Doh or Legos or scratch art, or do some drawing, or fiddle with a Rubik's Cube or the spinner thing. It allows children who are a little bit older to be read to. And again, this could be done online using Facebook Live with the publisher permissions that are happening right now, and do a multiple week event where you read aloud a book. And in this particular, in my book, it talked about things that were popular with this type of club would be humorous stories, or the choose your own adventure books, where everybody can raise their hand and say, I want to go this direction, or I want to go that direction. There's another book called Adventures of Nanny Piggins, and another one that's an R.A. Spratt title, and Alvin Ho, Allergic to Girls. I can't see my whole screen here because I've got you guys pictures up here, but it's another one that would be humorous. I think it's really attractive to participants because they don't have to read anything prior to the meeting. They just show up, and they have their Play-Doh or their Legos or their crayons and paper, and they do something as they are listening over the computer through Facebook Live. And that's why it's a downtime. They don't have to stare at the screen, even if they don't want to see. If you hold up, if there's some pictures in there, in these type of books, there's not generally tons of pictures, but if there were a few shots, they could look up once in a while. You could recruit additional members because they have a bring a friend event. That's what they talked about in this book anyway. And that could even be done, everybody online. So I think the Spub Club is a good way, if we can find titles that people that age group would like to listen to, that we have publisher permissions on. And like I say, there's a bunch of permissions out there right now. Now this one's in the quirky chapter. I kind of like this one. It's a silent reading book club. That's what it's called, is Silent Reading Book Club. Reading aloud, not allowed. I thought that was hilarious. But so the members congregate. It wouldn't make sense necessarily to have a Zoom meeting so nobody could talk. So I thought it could be a large or outdoor public place. They mentioned that they do a lot of breweries or eating establishments, and people just bring their book. They read whatever they are reading. There's no pressure to share. There's no pressure to talk to anybody, ever. Sometimes they say that people do share book, if they see somebody in the club reading something that looks interesting, or by an author that they know, they can say, hey, I don't know what that is. What are you reading? Do you like it? It could be that it's just natural conversation. But this is called the Introverts Club because there is no pressure to share. It doesn't feel like homework. And what it does is it allows people who are so busy to set aside some time to read. They say, oh, my book club meets in an hour, I'm going to be gone. And then they go, and for 40 minutes or what, you don't even have to make it last a whole hour. Even if you did 30 to 45 minutes and say, okay, see you next week. You know, I need a silent crafting club because I have so many crafts that I want to do that are undone, that are partially done. And then if I could get in a club like that where I could set aside the time, say, this is when I'm going to do it because this is what it's for. But that's what this one is for, is to set aside that time to read. Now this one is in the category of make it easy for them. And that's a chapter, and there's several titles in here in this chapter. But this one's called the Low Maintenance Book Club. And they only discuss pieces that can be read in 30 minutes or less. So it's short stories. They suggested in the book that it could be another one of those that would be good for campuses, because you'd have people who are doing research or needing to read research papers, or a whole class that has to read a certain set of research. So, but only discuss pieces that can be read in 30 minutes or less. This could be done as a Zoom meeting because you don't do the reading when you're there. You read ahead of time, you get online, and short works really can generate deep and thoughtful discussions depending on which ones you pick. I mean, some of the best literature that I read in college were short stories. I mean, it's just really an interesting format, an interesting way of things are different in short stories, and they can generate such interesting conversations. So that the complicated part of it is to select the passages. So, you know, you could accept recommendations from your participants, but I just thought it was really intriguing to set that marker of, if you can read it in less than 30 minutes, it will be done at this type of book club. Okay, let's see here. Now, this was in the chapter called Include a Change of Scenery. And it was called the Tales and Trails Book Club. And the participants only meet between April and October. So I understand we're coming out of the time. It would be something you'd plan for next spring. And if you have a walking trail that's close by the library or through your community, there are so many people that love to walk, or they need to walk their dogs, or they have strollers with littles in it. And you would make it clear dogs and strollers are welcome, and it's a 60-minute walk. And so they, you know, the books can be a wide range of things. It doesn't really matter. You know, the funny little quote is that people go off the beaten path when it's a walking trails type book club. But this is one where your members would kind of generate the ideas for which books to read. So, but while they walk, members chat about the month's selection, and you'd have to limit this group size to facilitate that ability to walk and talk and hear what everybody's saying. And it even said in the book that when it rained, this group loved the walk so much. And I know people like this. I'm not one of those people. I gotta be honest, but if it rains, they actually reschedule their meeting so that they can walk. They want to walk. That's part of the appeal of this book club, is that they get to walk and talk about books. So that's the people that you need to market this one to, is those people who really, really want to have time to walk, but still involve books in their lives. So I thought that was a good one for a lot of reasons. Now, I want to mention some of these. The back of this book is just full of these resources. The first one is called litlovers.com. I don't know if you guys know this organization or not. They provide a wide variety of discussion guides, book reviews, information on starting a book club, and they have a lit food guide that is perfect for groups wishing to incorporate food into their book club. So that was one. It also talks about Goodreads in here, but of course, most of us know about Goodreads. Reading Group Gold is a Macmillan piece, and it's one that provides discussion guides, book recommendations, related recipes for book club meetings, and an e-newsletter. And visitors to this site can request advanced reading copies of upcoming books, and they can also invite an author to attend virtually a book club meeting. So I thought that was a great resource because they do offer the ability to get advanced reading copies. I thought that was kind of cool. And of course, there's the celebrity book clubs. Reese Witherspoon is a famous one, and of course, Oprah is the traditional one that we all know about. It started in 1996. I had no idea it was that long ago. And even though the show stopped in 2011, the book club continues online. And this site provides book recommendations, articles, author interviews, a newsletter, and information about each month's book selection. And I know that each of you still get requests for the books that are on Oprah's book club list. So that was, that's a long-standing, I can't believe it's still going, kind of book club. Book Club Central is the one that the American Library started, American Library Association, with Sarah Jessica Parker as the chair. That started in June of 2017. And she always does a pick for the club, as well as an abundance of advice on starting and maintaining a book club, book recommendations, and more. So that's the ALA's. Book Club Central is the ALA one. Now, another one, Barnes & Noble. I didn't know Barnes & Noble had a book club, but they do. They get together across the country on the same day to discuss one book. And this website provides information about the current selection and interviews with the author and links to their podcast. So that's another one book, one nation kind of thing. And there are, like I say, those were just a handful of the actual resources that are in the back of this book. The Nebraska Library Commission also has a resource for book clubs, and they have so many kits at the commission that you can borrow. There's no cost other than mailing them back. Once you have used them, you can mail those back to them, and that's all that they charge you. You tell them how many copies you need. You look up and see if they have it. You tell them how many copies, when you're passing them out, when you're picking them up. It's very easy to use. So that Nebraska Library Commission link there is a great resource. I'm going to see if it'll go to it from here. It might not. Let me see here. Nope, it didn't go. But this is the realm project that I was going to talk about too a little bit, because we still have 20 minutes or so before the end of our day. But anyway, does anybody have any questions about the Unfinished Objects Club? Yes, I have heard about that. And that when you do the Crafters Club, so that you can finish whatever it is you start. And UFO, I think that's a program that once we can all be together, I think that's one we need to institute in lots of different libraries, because we're out here, frustrated crafters.
Hey, Denise.
Yes.
You need to sign up. Central Community College has several weekends throughout the year they call a crafters retreat, and they work, it's like Friday night 4 to 9, and then you leave your stuff out and you come back Saturday and work all day.
I
That
saw
might be
that.
a fun thing to do.
I did see that in their extended learning thing that they send out, the booklet they mail out, and
Yeah.
saw that you get a break if you sign up for every month of the year.
Yeah.
And I love that idea. I'm telling you, I seriously considered it. But yeah, so does anybody have any other great ideas for book clubs or ways that you can get people to do some group type reading? Wondering which college. Oh, CCC is the one that has the Friday night through all day Saturday, one weekend every month.
Denise,
Yes.
we have done this with young adults, where you pick out a book and they have maybe 2-3 members on a team, and they are assigned a chapter of the book, each team member, and they spend like 15 minutes reading it, and then they spend the rest of the time discussing what happened in their chapters, and they do that in order so you can follow the story, and then they discuss the book at the end. It's something different and it's fun.
Right, and it's the principle where they don't have to do preparation ahead of time. I think that's what is it's difficult for people now. I mean, I think of people who were in book clubs as I was growing up. I mean, they loved reading the book ahead of time. And so it was, that was part of it. And then they go and they discuss and they really delve deep into the meanings and all of that. That now they are really, people need to be able to go someplace where they don't feel like they've been assigned to do something before they get there. So that, Gail, is the perfect book club for teens, and it could work for adults too. It would have to be a shorter book or a teen book, which there are adults out there that love reading those. And but yeah, reading a chapter, set us a time and say, okay, you're going to read a chapter and you're going to read a chapter, and that sounds terrific. I love that idea.